The more I dive into this, the deeper I get into this inner work, the more I let go, the more I surrender, the better life keeps getting. I have heard an awful lot, well, I should say I've watched an awful lot of videos about relationships and all kinds of things and what it means to be feminine, what it means to be a wife, what is a husband supposed to do, blah, 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 blah. And I've been doing this for quite a few years now. Probably ever since I was done babysitting and was done having dogs around, because I was by myself. The only person left was my husband, and boy, if we didn't get things worked out, it was going to be a miserable rest of my life. So I really started looking hard into what it would take to turn our relationship around. And one of the things that kept coming up was deal breakers. You know, look at what it is that you want and then figure out what would be the deal breaker. In contemplating that, boy, I could come up with 1,000 different deal breakers. It was like, oh yeah, this happened and it should not have happened, and that happened and it should not have happened, and this here made a mess out of our marriage, and that didn't work in our marriage, and all that anger and frustration from everything that happens in 40 years of being together, going through and trying to figure out, what was the deal breaker. And it dawned on me, all these things that happened, they weren't deal breakers, because I'm still here. Now it's 42 years later, but when I really started looking into this, it was 40 years. And I was like, all this stuff that I bitch about all the time, all these things that I get so triggered over and so angry about and carry so much bitterness and animosity and hatred at times, all these things that should not have happened, trying to fix the past somehow, trying to get him to fix his mistakes and fix the past, and that list that guys hate, that filing cabinet, boy, mine was huge. Mine was huge. And my husband absolutely could not stand every time I brought up the past. And I just kept doing it and kept doing it and kept doing it. And I kept telling him, I've got to fix this. I've got to heal from this. Something has to happen from you so that I can get over this. And it didn't matter if he said sorry. I really wanted explanations as to why things happened, and he couldn't tell me because it had been too many years. So it kept every day coming up and coming up and coming up, and it just never went away. Never went away. And I truly believe those were all deal breakers. Because it was things that was happening in my marriage that I didn't want to happen. But they did happen. And you can't take it back once it happens. You just have to move forward. And see, that's what I didn't do. I didn't move forward. I stayed stuck back there trying to undo it, trying to make it not happen, trying to find a way to live with it, but not really trying to live with it because I was trying to erase it. And that's the faulty thinking. You can't erase the past. It's already happened. You have to move forward. But let me, that was a really long, that was a long speech about that. In trying to write down my deal breakers, it's like, I'm still here? That means these weren't really deal breakers. Because if they were truly deal breakers, I would be gone, right? And of course, there's a part of me that knows a lot of the reason why I stayed is because, number one, we had children, and I didn't want them to come from a broken home. And number two, I didn't know how to do it by myself. And it was better to be in a crappy marriage than it was to be out on my own. So, in thinking about me having these imaginary deal breakers, things that have already happened, that, if they happen again, I'm done. But they really did keep happening over and over and over again. It's like, why are you doing this to yourself? You're not going to leave when this happens. You have not left yet. Stop it. Stop it. That was the big message to myself, was just stop it. No matter how much you bitch and whine and complain about these things are not causing you to walk out the door. So just stop it. And surrender to it. That was another big one, just surrender. And I wrote down on a little card, and I could probably go find that. A little card. Surrender equals stop fighting. Just stop fighting about it. Now, did you do it overnight, Cherie? No. No, and I still struggle with it today. But the struggle is so much easier now. Because I'm always reminding myself, you're acting as if this is going to break the marriage. But it hasn't. You have not come across anything yet that is a deal breaker that's going to break this marriage. So just stop. Accept it. It is what it is. Find other ways to deal with stuff, quit holding on to that filing cabinet. Just all those things. And the funny thing is, since this started a few years ago, me trying to change my personality and the way I behave and how emotional I can get over dumb things and letting go of triggers, when we start fighting now, within a couple of days, I can't even remember what the fight was about. It's just immediately gone. It just disappears, dissolves. It's like, it's not a deal breaker. It's not going to break the marriage. Yes, it's freaking annoying sometimes having to deal with things you don't want to have to deal with, but it is what it is. Have I been able to let go of my entire filing cabinet? No, not yet. That stuff, if you watch people who talk about thoughts that wire together, fire together, how things that you think of over and over and over again repeatedly are so stuck in your brain that it's very hard to get rid of them. You have to dissolve all the connections so that they can finally go away. And because I've been thinking about some of this stuff for 30, 40 years, man, it's like really stuck in my head. And ruminating is a habit that I am trying to break. I shouldn't say trying, that I am breaking. It is a process, but I am breaking it. So that was one of those really big themes that I wanted to share that really helped me to overcome some of the negative energy that I was holding on to and the damage that I was causing to my marriage because of it. It's just like, you've been here through all of this stuff. None of it has broken the marriage. Therefore, they are not deal breakers. Stop fighting about it. Another thing that has really helped me to calm down a lot is me being so upset about the whole money thing. And that's going to be a whole nother video. But letting go of control, letting go of... Well, part of that was the need for him to be here more often. He works a lot, and he likes to do a lot of overtime, and he has a after work job, so he's gone a lot, and I'm here by myself. And before I was by myself, I had a whole lot of dogs that were put on me to take care of, and I always just wanted help. I didn't want him working all the time. I wanted help with this dog care that was just so overwhelming to me. And other things, I just wanted him around more. I wanted to see him more often. I was in a relationship with nobody at the time. That sounds like a lot of whining. But that's how I felt at the time. I just was so lonely and missed him so much. And he was just always working. So part of the money issue for me was trying to live on less money so that he could be home more often and not out working all the time. I really wanted to live on less. I really wanted him home more. And that was a huge, huge fight. But he wanted things in his life. He had lots of goals and dreams and things that he wanted to purchase, and it required money, and he was willing to do all that overtime and all that extra work, and he was willing to be gone all the time. So, of course, I held a grudge. It's like, I don't want this stuff. It's just you that wants this stuff. If you stop wanting all of this stuff, you won't have to work so much. That was a good point, right? But he couldn't hear me because I wasn't hearing him either, that he wanted this stuff and he was willing to go work for it. I always felt like second fiddle. I felt ignored. Just all kinds of negativity and stuff. And then as I started releasing my needs and control on the money thing and letting him go more and understanding it's his life, and I've got to step away from that, let him do what he wants to do and quit trying to control him. It was like, okay, so you're going to be working a lot. And I just need to get over that. It's a long process again. It really is. It's hard to release some of that stuff. But I've been doing it, and I've been doing a great job at it, and he does his overtime without me squabbling too much about it. I just let him know that I miss him, and I'm lonely, and it's not his fault. And because I watch the what's her name? The Universe Guru. Her name is Mina Irfan. And she's always talked about celebrate your provider, celebrate the man who's willing to work. And I try to think about that all the time, celebrate him, that he is willing to go out there and work so much. And it used to be that all of his extra money was for all the things that he wanted. And it's weird. It's so weird. I have released that in myself and just try not to complain about it anymore, that I'm here by myself all the time and he's working all those extra hours. And all of a sudden, I'm getting jewelry and clothing and makeup and trips and new furniture and just all kinds of new. I'm getting gifts left and right. I get flowers all the time. It's so weird how this stuff works. It's just so weird. The more you let go, the better things get. The less you try to control things, I don't know how to explain it. I really don't know how to explain it. Because I always believed all that extra money was just for all of his toys, it always angered me because I was jealous, obviously. Wow, Cherie, boom, there it is. I was jealous. He was doing all this extra work for himself so that he could have the toys that he wanted, and I just let it go. Oh my goodness. I love it when I have the ahas. And suddenly, now I'm getting stuff too. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I love talking to the camera because the stuff that comes out, it's mind-blowing, the things that I have learned by sitting here and talking to the camera. Wow. This has been a very interesting week plus. Hubby got sick last week, and I just kind of forced myself on him and took over his care and started cooking for him all day long and taking care of him like I always want to, but he won't let me. But he let me because he just wasn't feeling well. And it hasn't stopped. He's gone back to work, but I'm still making his food for him every day, which I have not done in a long time. Long time. I occasionally would make him something, but for the most part, he was fending for himself. And I don't know how many years ago I stopped taking care of him in that way. But it was because I just didn't feel appreciated. I felt like I was being taken for granted, and he was never really satisfied or happy with what I was making him. I cut the cheese too big, or I made too much stuff. I would get very angry when he wouldn't eat what I made him and he'd go out to eat instead because I felt like I was wasting my time. Just all kinds of things. And I got so angry and bitter that I quit taking care of him. But this last week and a half, I've been making all of his meals, and there's a little part of me that's really happy about that. I feel like a better person. I feel like a better wife because he goes to work every single day. Yeah, he takes some time off, but I've taken quite a few years off. So I feel guilty a lot when I don't when I don't take care of him the way I've been taught a wife should take care of a husband. So there's that guilt that hangs out in the back of my head. You should be taking care of his breakfasts and lunches for him and getting him packed up for the week. But then, of course, that bitter, angry side would be like, yeah, but he don't care what you do for him. He doesn't appreciate it at all. He's just going to complain that I didn't make his food right. And then there's that other little side that goes, but why can't you learn how to make his food the way he wants it? Do you remember when you were angry when he wouldn't learn how to do the laundry the way you wanted it? So you're doing the same thing. You don't want to learn how to make the food the way he wants it. And then, of course, this side kicks in and just starts getting all kinds of triggered and bitter and angry and stuff. Anywho, will I keep it up? I should. Okay, should is an obligation. Should is an obligation that should not. Should not. Another obligation. Should is a bad word. Will it help me and my marriage if I continue to take care of my husband's food for work and learn how to do it in a way that he enjoys his food? I think the answer to that is yes. It would be in both of our best interests if I take that on, simply because he gets up and goes to work. Therefore, wouldn't that just be right and fair that I do that for him? Yes, when he goes to work, part of what he does at work is for himself because, he also lives here and he buys things for himself and stuff. But part of what he does is also my upkeep. I don't know. It's getting past all of that bitter, angry, tormented woman crap and getting over into the good wife. It's still a work in progress. The other thing that's been new lately is laundry. I stopped doing his laundry years ago. Same reasons, same exact reasons. I felt underappreciated, taken for granted. I asked for little things when it had to do with laundry, make sure everything's in the basket on a certain day, all that stuff. I have another little video that I was working on about the laundry, so I'm kind of stuck right now. Laundry was just another one of those things where I had a lot of anger and bitterness and, asking him to do things a certain way, and he didn't want to do it that way, so therefore I just said, fine, I'm done. I'm not going to do your laundry anymore. Besides the fact that he wouldn't do mine, so why should I do his? So again, angry, tormented person, spoiled brat, maybe, bitter wife, I don't know, something prevented me from feeling gratitude. Well, something prevented me, right? Cherie, just get real. You wanted certain things from him. He did not give them to you. Therefore, you thought it was justifiable to just quit. Something in me changed, though, and I have started doing his laundry again. I'm still not 100% into it, but I try to keep reminding myself of the things that Mina teaches, is that he is the provider, the protector, and I really truly do have some duties as his wife, especially because I get to be a stay-at-home wife. That is something that I should be profoundly grateful for, is that I get to be a stay-at-home wife. And yeah, I complain and moan and groan all the time about that, about how lonely I am and how bored I am and how I absolutely can't stand being a housewife, and I hate having to cook and clean all the time. But I'm sure that if I was out there in the world having to work all the time, that I would probably wish that I was at home. You know, grass is always greener on the other side. But yeah, I get to be a stay-at-home wife because he is willing to get up and work his butt off. So, because I am a fair person, that fairness kicks in. It's like, are you really being fair? When the bitter side kicks in, fairness goes out the window. When the bitter side kicks in, it's just, he don't appreciate me. He's gone all the time. He doesn't spend no time with me. He doesn't do this. He doesn't do that, So why should I do anything for him? That's the bitter side. But the changes that I've been making in the last few years and the changes that he has been making is just crazy great. I get more attention from him now than I have ever had. And it's crazy. I get gifts all the time, which I have never been... That's never been that important to me, to receive gifts. His time is what was a gift for me. But it sure has been fun. And going on the trips and going out to eat and all that sure has been fun. I have very much enjoyed that. But what that also means is I get time with him. And that's what I need more than anything, is that time. So it's easier now for me to act more like a wife and do his laundry and cook his food, because he is actually putting in some effort. I don't know, that sounds funny. How was I thinking about that the other day? This is going to be another whole video too, is the fact that I never thought about being a wife, ever, when I was young. I never thought about being a mother when I was young. All that stuff just kind of happened to me, and I never gave it any thought. And a lot of the things that I watch, especially the Universe Guru, talking about, how you date for marriage and you have a love list and you do this, that, and the other thing, and you make sure before you get married that you are going to end up with somebody who has the same values as you and who is headed down the same path as you. And I didn't do that. I didn't do that at all. I thought he was just the most attractive man I'd ever seen in my life, and that's all it took. I still feel that way. But anyways, so in thinking about talking to other women about what it's like to get into a long-term relationship without putting any thought into it whatsoever, what would I have done differently if I was starting this all over again? And boy, is there a lot of stuff. And the one thing that's popped in my head a lot is make sure that the person that you choose is worth your time and effort, because you are going to have to sacrifice so much of yourself for the relationship. You have to, when you're in a relationship, things change massively. Massively. This is not a very well thought out section yet. It's something that I've been formulating in my brain, trying to think about the whole, is this person going to be worth your sacrifice? And had you asked me that question even 10 years ago, I would have said no. No, he's not. And I think that was part of the reason why I gave up on the cooking and the cleaning and the laundry and all that other stuff, and just took less and less care of him all the time. But now, with the changes that he's making too, it's making this relationship so much more worth it. And I'm willing to put so much more effort into it than I was willing to put into it before. I didn't wait for him to change, though. I think that was my big problem right there. Is that all these years of trying to fix the past, trying to make it so that none of those things that happened, try to make them go away like they never happened. All that stuff was me trying to get him to change, me wanting him to apologize and fix it and all that kind of stuff. And I had that stupid mentality of, well, if you ain't going to do it, then I'm not going to either. Which got me nowhere. It got me absolutely nowhere. I had to start changing first. I had to go deep within myself and start pulling out all the crap and all the bullshit that I was giving him and put in effort for myself. And maybe that's what the manifesting is all about, is you start to change and then everything changes around you. And that's what's happening. The more I dive into this, the deeper I get into this inner work, the more I let go, the more I surrender, the better life keeps getting. Anyways, I hope that helps you. Thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you again later. Bye now.